Hi there, I'm Keith Cawley, and this is Thrive, a Bridgestone Americas podcast where we explore our company through compelling conversations with teammates across our organization. Across our journey together, we've introduced you to a variety of our employee resource groups, or ERGs, to explore more about our corporate culture and the communities within Bridgestone that offer opportunities for connection, networking, service, and more for people with shared interests or life experiences. Today's ERG Spotlight is Bravo, our Bridgestone Americas Veterans Organization, which, as their name explains, brings together teammates who served in the military or who have military connections. We talked to two of the group's leaders, Joe Bailey and Marty Morrison, about the primary objectives of Bravo and the work it does to engage veterans and allies both in and outside of Bridgestone. We hope you enjoy this conversation. Well, we are joined today by Joe Bailey across the table from me, and then to my right in the middle of the table, Marty Morrison, and we are here to talk about Bravo, which is the Bridgestone Americas Veterans Organization, another one of our employee resource groups. So thanks so much, both of you, for taking the time to join us and to talk through some things today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll give the titles, the backgrounds a little bit here. So Joe is Senior Project Manager in TPSB, which is Nazar Trigi's org of technology, innovation, solutions, businesses, and the like, but also president of Bravo, correct?
Correct, yeah.
So the top of the top across the table. Not to be outdone, the vice president of Bravo is Marty, and you are HR and Payroll Operations Program Manager at Bridgestone as a day job.
Absolutely.
Fantastic. Well, let's start to get to know each of you a little bit, if that's all right. So, Joe, we'll go across the table, but your background, I guess, in general, in your career path, and then maybe a little bit about what you do at Bridgestone and how Bravo plays into all of that.
Yeah, certainly. So, once again, thank you for having us, Keith.
Sure.
We really appreciate the time this morning.
Yeah.
So I'm a former Navy lieutenant, served 10 years. I was on board reconnaissance aircraft, P-3s, and did 3 deployments over in the Middle East. So really proud of my service and all the folks that I served with over there. And then I actually got recruited to General Electric after the military, and then went to Asurion, and now here I'm at Bridgestone. So very thankful for that. I started out in the commercial emerging technology group.
Always in kind of a project management role when you started at GE and then Asurion?
Good question. At GE, I was more operations, manufacturing. We manufactured steam turbine engines, jet engines, gas turbine engines.
You're on the big size stuff over there. Yeah,
the big stuff.
I know they got some appliances and they've got some jumbo jet action.
Oh yeah. So that was really cool. Really enjoyed it. But that was more operations focused, logistics and quality focused.
Gotcha.
I really didn't start expanding more into project management until Asurion, and I did a lot of international travel, helping set up supply chain operations over in Asia as well as South America, and that's where I feel like I really honed my project and program management skills.
Well, good. Well, we need it because we got a lot of things going on at Bridgestone, like we've talked about on the podcast before. But,
absolutely.
Glad to have you there.
Thank you.
Marty, what about you? What's your path, your background?
Sure. So I was very fortunate to spend about 27 years in the Air Force.
Not to interrupt, will we have a nice little rivalry? Is this? I know we're all proud of the branches, right? So is this going to be a little back and forth?
Most definitely. I do want to say love the Navy, our Air Force, our Army and Marine Corps, but I did 27 years, Joe maybe 10. So I just wanted to point that out to get started.
Of course,
all in good fun.
Sure.
But 27 years, it was a fantastic opportunity. I was a pilot. I started out in airlift aircraft, flew C-141s and C-17s, and then transitioned into the air refueling business, flew KC-10s and KC-135s. And along the way, had the opportunity to do multiple deployments and participate in some combat operations. So very proud of that as well. Our family decided to retire in 2014, and we had always wanted to come to Nashville. So came here, went to work for a consulting company doing project management, and the company's biggest client was Bridgestone. So I came out to Bridgestone, started doing some projects there, and was very happy that it transitioned into a teammate role. So I did some project management, and then got into some operations. Did that for a while, and then transitioned back into program management.
There you go. Well, so I want to explore a little bit about the trends. I think that's one of the topics we always, at least I'm always curious about, right? Is you are in something so focused in one aspect of a career for so long, transitioning out of that to something completely different. But before we get to that, I mean, a little bit about Bravo. So what is Bravo as far as an ERG goes, and who were the groups that you look to engage?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's Bravo stands for Bridgestone America's Veterans Organization. And we actually started in 2017, shortly after BWIN. So we're just really proud of that, and really kudos to Todd Thiel, Jason Wygand, Matt Hilario, Chin Brown, and of course Matt Metzlars. Right?
These are the OGs.
They
originals.
They were the
Bravo.
OGs. I'm telling you, in 2017, and I was really blessed and fortunate to meet with them shortly after I came to Bridgestone. Nice. But really, they formed that charter and got the executive approval. So. Yeah, it was just a really exciting time, when I came into Bridgestone and got to be a part of the group. I tell you, our mission really is to engage teammates in the fellowship of service. I think what you'll find, Keith, with most veterans, service is in our heart. Yeah. And so we wanted to continue that, right? Just in a different chapter of our life. And our three strategic pillars are membership and recruitment. Of course, hopefully that leads to retention. We have our community service events, and then our regular events that are a little more centered around, veteran-centric. So yeah, that's Bravo in a nutshell. And I tell you, we have over 200 active members, and we are expanding into BSRO this year. That's been the name of the game, for 2022. We are thankful for our partners there in BSRO.
Yeah, I think that's, as we talk to a lot of our ERGs, that's been this opportunity seen kind of in the challenge of the pandemic, right?
Sure.
Technology is allowing us to be connected more remotely, and it's been able to increase what used to be in a room together at an office building to start, but now been able to grow and connect across the remote space and grow into the larger geographical footprint for all of these, which is great.
Yeah.
I think Marty, he kind of laid out the objectives and everything. What was your experience? Like, I guess for both of you, how did you get into, you said you talked to them originally. Had you come from places previously, I guess if you were in a consulting firm, but GE and Assurant, did they have veterans resource groups? Is this something you had been affiliated with in some form?
So the consulting company I was with did not necessarily have a group, but when I came out to Bridgestone, it was before Bravo existed. And so it was really neat. I think back to people like Sarah Daly and Todd Thiel and James Whitfield. Veterans just had that connection, and we just got together organically. We would share meals together, we would talk and share our experiences. So that was great, and that was before Bravo. And then I just want to also offer, it is always the right time to become part of Bravo. And I hold myself out as a great example. When Bravo first stood up, I was initially involved and connected. But then just due to some bandwidth availability and things like that, I took a break, a pretty long break, until I was talking with my manager in the spring of 2021. And I thought there's never an easy time to take something else on. And so I reached out to Joe and some other folks, and they said, hey, come join us. And just a couple months later, I was getting a partner with Joe and do some great things. So I just encourage everyone to kind of
thrust right into a leadership role as well, right? Get on the board, man. Yeah. No, it's great. And of course, as we talk about it, you've got a lot of the teammates that you've named are also veterans, past service members, but that's not only who it's for, right? You've got a wide range of other employees that can engage in this because of connections around and with veterans, right?
Certainly. And really, we really appreciate those folks who are our friends and allies. One of the challenges, Keith, that started in 2017 with Bravo, we would constantly have people contact us and say, hey, I really like what you're doing. I love what you stand for, doing community service events. But I'm not a veteran.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were like, oh my gosh, that doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
That we would have folks come up and say, my grandfather served,
Mm-hmm.
my sister served. Can I come join? Can I come, be a part of it? And we're like, certainly. So that's what we're all about, just trying to give back and primarily be a service organization.
And in a way, it is those friends and allies who weren't veterans that we really appreciate the most, because it's just their heart for service and to be connected means so much to us. And just to show how much Joe and I value that, Matt is our secretary.
Mm-hmm.
Shannon Kennedy is our treasurer, and they are not veterans, but they have family that was, and they have a spirit for Bravo. So we really appreciate that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's we talk about allies with each of our ERGs, right? And I mean those come in different shapes and forms, but I think particularly when people think of the military, there's the person serving, or maybe multiple people in a family serving, but it's also a military family. And you hear stories of people traveling all over the country as they get moved into different posts. And there's that community as well, that not just for the people serving, but also for the families who have people serving, and the bonds that are formed, and those experiences, right, to be able to have the network to share with that as well. So it's good. It's all inclusive, right?
Yeah. Certainly.
So true, Keith. And to your point, our Bravo spotlight for this month is Jennifer Hill. She's the spouse of a gentleman who's deployed with the Tennessee Army Guard, and doing great things for Bridgestone, and very heavily involved in Bravo.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the transition period, because I think there's a couple of questions that I'm always curious about. And a lot of times you meet former service members, for veterans, and they're in maybe sometimes consistent roles. There's things that maybe play to strengths, project management being one, things that are in operations, as you mentioned as well, Joe, things that are very regimented, also very organized. Like there seems to be somewhat of a theme there, so to speak. But the transition, obviously, there's different experiences for different individuals. I don't know if you either feel comfortable sharing on the challenges or the things that you experienced during your own transitions from military life to civilian life, I think is the term, right?
Yeah.
And I was curious about that, because I got to spend a little bit of time a couple of years ago with two teammates from our Wilson plant. And one had transitioned, a few decades ago, and the other one was a little bit more recent, and they had kind of formed a mentor-mentee role where one was helping the other through it. And it's just kind of something you live through and figure out. But what was the experiences, I guess, for each of you with that?
Yeah, so my experience, it was very interesting, Keith. It was over 20 years ago. And at that time, honestly, the military didn't have that great of a transition plan, for folks exiting. My experience was my last duty station, I was at Naval Air Station Corpus Christi. I had about an 8-hour course of, hey, here's some paperwork, here's some websites. Good luck, and thanks for playing.
It's been great having you.
It's been great having you, Joe. But honestly, that was my experience, and I am so thankful for many of the organizations that we work with. It is so much better now. It can be even more stellar, but it is amazing what it was compared to when I got out. But the interesting thing is that General Electric, Boeing, a lot of other different companies, right? They had a true military track, a military talent acquisition team. And that's how I got recruited. I ended up getting offers from Walmart, from GE, other companies, but they had a true talent pipeline to pull these young officers and enlisted people, and put them through some corporate training. So that was my path. It was overall, I wish it would have been a little bit better, coming out of NAS Corpus, but I think it may have been a little bit different for Marty.
I was gonna.
you
I
know?
mean, I have curiosities just in
Yeah.
you're flying jets. Your day to day is maybe a little bit different than
Yeah.
now you're kind of managing programs and projects and what when you would have been in an office before. But that's quite a change in direction, right?
It is, and it's interesting because I think when most people come out of the military, there's kind of two big things that push them a direction. One is, what do I want to do, and where is that going to take me? The other is, if you definitely have a location in mind, it's what can I do there? I was in the latter category. We definitely wanted to come to Nashville. We had extended family in the area, knew it was a great town. And so I looked for that transferable skill. It was project management, and went right into that. So it was challenging because there wasn't a specific support structure set up. At that point, even though it was a bit after Joe's transition, you're really just reaching out to your friends who have gone before you to get help. And so there's really nothing, no specific construct set up. And that's why Joe and I are so happy to partner with some of these foundations that Bridgestone is coming together with, like the Commit Foundation. We got together with them in February, the Honor Foundation in April, and we have additional companies reaching out to us all the time. They want to establish a partnership with Bridgestone, and truly it's a win-win, and that's why Joe and I are so passionate about that. Is we want to be a part of setting up that enduring foundation of assertively bringing that veteran talent into Bridgestone. And so it's going to be a win for our enterprise to get the talent, and it's going to be a win for those who need to make the transition.
As we talk about transitions, and I mean, you mentioned you started at GE and then Assurion, and then when you come to Bridgestone, there's others that have had this shared experience. But how did you, I guess, find them at Bridgestone, or did they find you, so to speak?
Oh, Keith. They found me.
They found you. You can seek each other out like this.
Oh, my
right?
goodness. So, about 6 months into my time here at Bridgestone, Todd Thiel and Jason Wygan did a drive-by, right? They show up at my desk, two handsome gentlemen. Todd,
Slightly imposing figures. They got a little height to them. Yes.
Both of them former Army Rangers, right? So they do a drive-by. And I said, hey, guys, what's up? And they're like, let's go to lunch.
It's more of an order, not a request, right?
You don't say
And I'm
no.
like, hey, look, I was in aviation. Everything's cool, guys. But no, we went out to lunch, and it was extremely valuable. That's when I really got the true heart of Bravo, because they took me out to lunch. I was 6 months into a new job, a new corporate environment. They took me to lunch, and they gave me some tips and pointers and even further contacts to build my, professional network. And Keith, I think that's the real true value of our ERGs, is that, you can have that immediate connection with folks, especially, in the veteran organization. So it's extremely important, and we're thankful that Bridgestone allows us to do this. And thankful for the DE&I organization that we're all a part of.
Yeah, well, and I mentioned a little bit about some roles and some skill sets, right? I think let's explore that a little bit. I know, at the golf tournament every year in Akron, Ohio, at Firestone Country Club, there's usually a military appreciation ceremony, and we celebrate, the support that Bridgestone, but the community always gives. But I know we're a part of the Veterans Jobs Mission, which is a group of companies, corporate entities that have committed to making sure that they're hiring or making pipelines available to track veterans in as they make that transition. And so are there certain skill sets, I guess, in your own experiences or as you talk to other veterans that are a good fit for the corporate world? Like what does the corporate world have to offer, but also what are the real skill sets that the veterans transitioning have to offer the companies?
Yeah, certainly. So, I tell you, coming out of the military, definitely you learn selfless service, leadership skills, the ability to deal with ambiguous situations in very stressful situations.
We call that ambiguity the fog of war.
So you will find that, these brave young, men and women, they have that in spades. The the challenge is just getting them into the right position, letting them perform, and give them some of that corporate structure and background. And we can teach them the tire business, right? We can teach them that. But those leadership skills, attention to detail, integrity, the ability to show up, right? Those are key things that veterans will always bring to the table. We can teach them everything else, but that's what I feel really translates into the corporate world.
Well, Adam Balfour, if he's listening, will be like, let's talk more ethics and compliance and integrity. That's his wheelhouse right there. We can talk about that all day. What about in your experience, Marty?
Yeah, totally agree with what Joe laid out. You know, as I came into Bridgestone and got settled in as a teammate, I was so gratified because in the Air Force, the 3 core values are integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And it became very clear to me within a couple of months that those same values exist at Bridgestone. People act with great integrity. Compliance is part of that. And they put others before themselves. They put the team first, always willing to help each other out. And then when we think about excellence, everybody comes to work with the goal of doing their best. And so I felt very much at home at Bridgestone.
And you talked about some of the organizations that have reached out to you to help provide guidance and consultation with transition. Looking through some of the Bravo communications and some of the activities that you all have done. I know you were at the National VFW convention recently. You engage a lot in these groups proactively outside of Bridgestone that are in the veterans community. How do you decide kind of where to play and where to partner, or what are your objectives when you engage with entities like that?
No, that's a wonderful question, Keith, because I tell you, I look here at my great friend Marty. We get solicitations. I mean, several in a week. And the challenge is always coming back to what is our mission, right? Does it fit in one of the 3 pillars? Is it a positive representation of veterans? Is it a positive representation of our brand? And so that's what we always come back to, our core values and looking at the E8 commitment. Can this be a form or a forum that will be a positive reflection on veterans in our company? So that is certainly what always guides us as we get these solicitations, and just really proud to say we have developed some great partnerships. Operation Stand Down Tennessee, phenomenal organization. We have our Honor Foundation, the Commit Foundation, of course the VFW, and I'm proud to say Marty's been helping me. We're making some inroads into the VA at a very high level, like at a executive, an executive level.
Just a connection level.
Yeah. So just really proud of that.
Yeah. So well said, Joe. If an organization allows us to be true to our pillars and our mission, the recruiting and retention, the community engagement, and then the internal fellowship across Bridgestone, then we love to partner with them. And the organizations that Joe mentioned allowed us to do that. And then one that we were excited to become involved with at the end of last year is Wreaths Across America. It's a great organization that right just before Christmas time remembers our veterans. Veterans and volunteers go out and lay wreaths on veteran gravestones at veteran cemeteries. So again, just a very worthwhile cause.
Yeah. When you talk about activities you got coming up, a lot of them are calendar-based. Veterans Day will be coming up a couple weeks after we're having this conversation today. What are some of the things on the calendar right now for Bravo that people can maybe get involved in the days ahead, or that will be being communicated as we look forward?
Yeah, so our upcoming activities, we have our Wounded Warrior 5K. We would love to have, any allies and partners come out. I think Marty may be in better shape for that
Look,
than me right now.
I can be an ally in the idea of cheering from the side.
Okay.
I'm an ally to runners over here, yes.
That's right. That's right.
So we do want to talk a little bit about our Veterans Day event, which is going to be on November 11th, that Friday. Really encourage as many people to be there with us in person as possible. We are going to have a phenomenal guest speaker. He is a retired Navy SEAL. So he's got a lot of great experiences to touch on, and also since he's made the transition into his post-retirement career. So please join us for that in the late morning on Friday, November 11th. And then in addition to the Wounded Warrior 5K that Joe mentioned, anticipate in the mid-December timeframe that we'll be sending out communications for wreaths across America. So we'd love to have everybody join us for that as well.
And you mentioned expanding into retail this year, which is a big step. How are we going about engaging and creating that first touch point now for the retail population?
Absolutely. So we've I tell you, Marty and I, when we sat down in January, we were planning out a lot of our events and just looking at the strategic goals for the organization. We are really thankful for our BSRO partners. Michael Allison has been a awesome partner on the BSRO side, as well as Erica Abila. And so they are helping us cascade our organizational structure, as well as soliciting for champions. And so right now, Keith, we already have 13 people that have already volunteered to start up new chapters, throughout the U.S. And that's been the name of the game this year, is just expanding our footprint and engaging our teammates.
Yeah, it's great, and I want to recognize Matt because he really had a heart for this expansion, and so
Yes.
he was there right there with Joe and me to kind of put that groundwork strategy together. So he's got a great passion for that expansion, and we look forward to continuing that. As we had calls with the initial chapter that stood up, it became very, very clear there are people out there all across BSRO and other organizations that are working with veterans, making a difference. People, that have been combat wounded, that have challenges, and doing things with them on their own time, making a phenomenal impact in their communities.
Yeah.
And one thing I'd like to remind our listeners is we expanded into ATC as well, and CFNA. Good. We have a chapter up in Cleveland. And so, just excited about the work that people are doing. Really good stuff.
Yeah, connecting the dots everywhere, right? Creating those communities. Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to share a little bit about Bravo. We got some exciting events coming up, as always, on the calendar, but appreciate being able to learn a little bit more about the objectives, the group of teammates, and what you're all doing. So, Joe, thank you. Marty, thank you.
We are thankful. Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Thank you.
We talk often about thriving together as one team at Bridgestone, and our ERGs, like Bravo, continue to be a vital connection point for our teammates, particularly as hybrid and remote work becomes more prevalent and technology allows us to stay more connected more frequently from a distance. If you like this conversation, be sure to check out some of our other podcast episodes featuring other ERGs like Be Next, Be Bold, Be Proud, or Be Unidos. While you're doing that, feel free to leave us a rating or a review in the podcast app of your choice. And remember, you can also watch some of the episodes via the Bridgestone America's YouTube page. And if you have a question or comment, you can always reach us via email at thrivepodcast@bfusa.com. Thanks for listening. I'm Keith Cawley, telling you to keep on keeping on. And remember that at Bridgestone, today, tomorrow, together, we thrive. Be good, everybody.